All right. So I'm going to try a new format here where rather than having a section for lifting and having a section for what I want to talk about for the week, I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about for the week. And if a lift comes up that I want to speak on, I will speak on it. Uh, so what I wanted to speak on topic wise was how I'm planning on making sure I don't spin my wheels, because that's probably the big fear with Conjugate. You know, if you're rotating everything so much, where the hell are you, right? So I think the main way would be keep your max effort exercise pool limited. For now, I'm just going with 6 exercises for squat, bench, and deadlift, and I'm just going to rotate through those, add some in. If, like, for example, if my weak point changes and I want to test that weak point, then I'll add in a new variation. But just, starting with 6 or so very slowly at first. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm only going to rotate accessories and secondaries as needed. So, for example, my squat, I've been belt squatting for really longer than I've been doing strict conjugate, but like I've been belt squatting for probably 30 weeks at this point. It's great exercise. What can I say? And I brought up my quads a great deal, but I think my weakness is no longer my quads. I think it's my adductors, and I'll discuss more why I think about that in the future of this video. But yeah, so I think I'll swap that out because it's as needed, right? Where quads are no longer what's holding me back. Therefore, I need to switch up the exercise, right? Another example is going to be right here with my bench. I think my sticking point on the bench has moved, which is pretty cool. So this is a 3-count pause bench. It's going to be hard off the chest, obviously. That's the point of the exercise. But if you watch here, bring it to my chest and take a nap down there, I get it like 4 inches up before it really starts to slow down. So I think that's more of a tricep weakness now, which would be pretty cool and makes sense for my leverages. Not that I'm, Kaler Woolham or whomever, Lamar Gant. I don't have crazy long limbs, but I do have I'm a little bit of a lankier guy, especially, I have a smaller frame. So, I'm not getting any range of motion reduction out of my rib cage and whatnot, right? So that's why, okay. On my other bench day, I do close grip, so I'm just gonna keep chugging the way I am with the dumbbell presses. But the point stands, like, okay, I got to bring on my triceps a little bit more. I think you can never have too much triceps, really. So here's my squats. These are disgusting and ugly and horrid, and I hate them. These look really bad, right? So my deal was I was taking one thing I didn't focus on my mobility enough, so I was taking a narrower stance that I needed to, or should want to. That's on me. That's an error. But I tend to favor away from my adductors, even though I should be squatting wider, as once again, kind of a longer limbed. I definitely have, maybe a little bit longer femur. I compared femur lengths with my friend the other day, and my shins are like 2 or 3 inches shorter than his, and he's a bit of a shorter torso guy himself. So I just got to take my stance out. I'm not saying I'm freakishly unproportioned or whatever. I'm not making excuses or anything. I'm just like, okay, I don't think narrow squatting is good for me competition wise. That's all I'm saying. Other thing is I need to bring up my hamstrings. So I'm gonna keep jamming on RDLs for the deadlift, right? That's another exercise where it's like, okay, this is correcting the deficiency here in my hinge is the issue, right? I can yank up anything with my back. As you could see here, this was ugly. But the hinge needs some work, right? So I gotta bring up the hamstrings. But there's no real reason for me to switch off RDLs, especially since I'm cutting. I'm not worried about like stalling it. If I stall out, that's okay right now, because I'm going to be cutting for the next 12 weeks or so to stay in 181. I decided to stay. I got okay. So the guy I was warming up with squats with on the meet, he asked me if I was a 74, and I got a little self-conscious. I felt skinny, but that's okay. I have muscle to gain at 181. I don't need to go up to 198 yet. So why would I, make myself less competitive to go up into a weight class that I have not earned yet? That's my opinion, at least. I gotta earn 198, and once again, as kind of a little bit more, slightly more lankier guy, I'm gonna look skinnier, right? It's okay. This is just comparatively, right? I don't have the Gavin and short limbs thing. That's all I'm saying. Nothing crazy. I just got, I've got to build, got to deal with it. I don't need to make drastic changes. Need to just plug my weaknesses. This is what I was listening to over the week. I've always been like I guess a passive fan of this band. Never really like, after the burial, they're my shit. But I gave this album a go. Really great. My sort of, not beef, but like, they're definitely a band. There's two types of bands, in my opinion. There are three types of bands. There's bands that change and become sucky, bands that change and still stay good, and then bands that don't change, and they're in the third category. They make pretty similar music throughout their discography. Nothing wrong with it. Just a note. Great album. Laurentian Ghosts. Beautiful track. Beautiful tearjerker. Crying. Sad track. It's awesome. Peace.